It's yours truly, Angie, Coach Angie with Wounded2Wonderful Coaching. Brief touch point live again, third time in a week. I'm doing it. But I wanted to come before you today and just talk about briefly about setting yourself free. Just finished, you know, not finished. I'm like, finished one thing, onto the next. The next few hours is all about kids, pick up and drop offs, events, practices, and stuff like that for the next hour and a half to 2 hours. Felt need or self free. So set yourself free. When I say that, and what do I mean by that? It's to remove yourself or remove from you norms that maybe through learned behaviors or I know I'm live, that you um, absorbed or adopted into your day to day, and it wasn't to your benefit, or it hasn't been to your benefit. So I'm trying to say this nicely and as carefully as I possibly can. Um, you got to set yourself free. If you notice that certain traits, behaviors, or expectations of you limits you, frustrates you, makes you second guess yourself at the end of the interaction, makes you frustrated, makes you not like having to deal with or having to do certain interactions, behaviors, traits, whatever the case may be, set yourself free from that. And there are certain things that you may have to do, certain conversations you may need to have in order to set yourself free from that. Is the removal process easy? Absolutely not. Does it hurt? Absolutely hurts. Does it include a grieving process? It sure does. And, it's something where unlearning comes to play. You have to unlearn certain behaviors, interactions, conversations, speaking patterns, use of words, usage of phrasing that limits your capabilities. Right? So if you're in a position where you feel limited, if you feel as if you are selling yourself short, as if you're not walking into your full potential and your full calling, it's super important that you set yourself free. And in my personal experience of having to do that, yes, it is painful of having to make those hard decisions and those tough uh, decisions to move forward, free from certain connections, free from certain behaviors, patterns. But is it rewarding and fulfilling? It sure is. And it gives you the blueprint on how to move forward and to protect that and to foster that. My previous lives, although those were random, they kind of segue one into the other, right? About securing your space, securing your healing, and now setting yourself free. So once you've secured your healing and protected your space and aggressively are intentional about, embracing the requirements of healing and staying in that perpetual growth, you're going to want to protect your space. You're going you're going to find that freedom, something that you wish you've had sooner and that you will never want to let go. So that's where we get into this phase of now setting yourself free by removing, by limiting access to those core parts of you that, if given the opportunity, you'll be taken full advantage of, and you'll be feeling depleted, deprived, and used up. So it's important that now, if you are sure and intentional about securing your healing and setting yourself free as you progress into your next best level and step of who you have been designated to be, that's where the question lies. Are you willing to set yourself free? Are you willing to have or do the hard things in order with the foresight of that freedom and what it looks like and what it potentially would not potentially what it will feel like if you were to take these significant steps or make these significant decisions, what that freedom entails. And that's where mindset comes in. My biggest challenge was unlearning certain norms, whether they were cultural, societal, or just what I thought would have been the expectation for someone like me. And my emails are coming in. And my day to day, what I've known to be the norm years, from the moment I started to enter into maturity. Have I have I regret? Do I have any regrets? Um, there are some regrets on decisions that were made and things that I've embraced as cultural norms and societal norms. But the unlearning is the most rewarding. Difficult in itself because I'm I was put into a place where I was challenged, where I was held accountable into a higher standard because I've made that initiative saying, okay, I'm willing to set myself free from this thing or this thought or this expectation of myself or what I thought were um, beneficial relationships when they're actually one-sided, or relationships where I was now that I look in retrospect, I was seen as a project or a charity case. Um, and I no longer wanted to be seen like that. Yes, I was widowed. Yes, my children and I, had to regain and relearn life after losing my spouse in 2009. But I didn't want anyone to take me on as a charity case or as a project to fix or to say that I put her back together again and her children back together again. And that's something I will fight tooth and nail to never happen. I asked the Lord the minute I woke up from that. I wouldn't say it was a stupor, but it was just like that's what this was the whole time. I'm thinking that I'm being, nurtured by a community when I'm actually being put together like Frankenstein as a project and a saving grace, but project. And I'm like, no, that's not what any of this should have been about. Because I know when I'm helping people in tough times, I do that at the end of me helping or lending a hand or supporting. The minute that person tells me thank you, that is the end of the transaction. There's nothing else I expect or nothing else I'm trying to invest or get a return out of. And I realized that I, maybe for the majority of folks, not everyone, that sometimes I felt, now that I look at it, now that I've reframed my thinking and my mindset has shifted, that certain societal or nucleus norms or cultural subcultural norms where that I'm putting into you, I'm investing to you, you're my project, you're my investment, so you owe me loyalty, you owe me servitude, you owe me like an indentured servant. I'm like, hold up, that doesn't work here, and it should not be the case, because I know when I took and served and helped out of my little basket that should have been poured into, and giving and spending not even hundreds but thousands of dollars into efforts and to events where normally I should be getting paid and poured into, or compensated for. I saw that at the end of that conversation or the end of that transaction of me doing whatever or whatever, the moment I heard thank you, or once I got that little, okay, we appreciate what you've done, I expect nothing else from anyone, right? And I've learned that if you do it that way, if you just make your due diligence and your support transactional, that, okay, I'm doing this in an effort to alleviate or to support your efforts, or to knowing that you have a need, and I'm in a capacity, I have the capacity right now to support you, I'm going to do that. And at the end of that, I just want to see you be better and do better. That's all. And when I've embraced that mindset, it allowed me to have an easier reaction or response to those who have identified as opportunists or users. And being careful with my efforts and even being mindful of my outpouring of whatever, whether it's resources, time, energy, whatever the case may be. At the end of that transaction, if I realized that you were a user or an opportunist or someone who had the intention of being one-sided, it made my clean break easy and free because I set myself free from that indentured servant mindset that if I do something for you, you owe me this and I owe you this and you owe me this, and we're going to be playing tennis back and forth of who owes what because of what the other has done for the other. No, I'm not that person. At the end of the day, opportunists are going to feel left feeling silly because they're realizing they took advantage of or tried to take advantage of someone who had really pure, righteous intentions. And they will think twice before coming back to me to try to take advantage of me because they'll see that my efforts were merely transactional in the event to alleviate support and to pour into that time and season where God saw it fit or I allowed myself to be a part of it. And I'm leaning more towards and setting myself free to letting God be more of the forefront and the deciding factor of who gets my time, energy, and resources. Because again, like I said, back to the beginning of that thought, that was my hardest part of unlearning certain aspects of my thought process and the cultural norms and the societal and local community norms. Unlearning those certain behaviors is something that has taken me the longest. But God is faithful that even in those times when I find myself falling back into those trends of being too much to people who don't have the capacity to receive it or to acknowledge it or to be mindful and respectful of those efforts and energy, um, he lets me know swiftly with a quick hurt of feelings getting hurt or people showing true colors, right? I've planned funerals, I've planned weddings. And in both instances, I've learned who people were and what their true intentions are. All right, I've planned more funerals than I'd like to. In my immediate life, my first spouse, and then my son that passed uh, in utero at 5 months in 2019. And I've planned weddings too, 2004 and 2019. Lord. Right? So, no, 2015. Yeah, 2004 and 2015. So it's like I've experienced significant life events, and the downside of both of those significant life events. First marriage ended in my spouse passing away. Second one ending in the death of that marriage of my second spouse abruptly making a different turn. So I've had both experiences and I've learned and continuing to learn and unlearn. That's the part. That's the kicker, the unlearning aspect. So I'm intent on setting myself free from everything that was limiting in my beliefs, in my actions, in my thought process, in my relationships, in my finances, in the way I raise my children. Every aspect is currently under assessment and heavy scrutiny by me, utilizing the word, utilizing accountability partners, utilizing a master therapist, someone who's well decorated in their field and in the faith, yeah, who can identify with my struggle and identify with what I've encountered and hold me accountable accordingly. Because I'm intent on being set free from those societal norms that I realize never served me and have not been a benefit, a long-term benefit at least. So I was just yapping and sitting here open, thinking openly about, are you intent on setting yourself free? Do you want to set yourself free? And if you do, there are certain steps you must take, certain conversations you must have, certain things you must learn while simultaneously unlearning in order to continuously push to get to that next level. So with that being said, yours truly, Coach Angie with Wounded2Wonderful, another random live. I hope this video blesses you, For those who watches it now or watches the replay, feel free to share with someone who you believe will benefit from Conversations with Wounded to Wonderful. My link is in the description. Feel free to connect with me. I'll probably also update it and put my social medias for you to be able to see and connect with me in that realm. But YouTube, thank you. And continue to, for those who watch this, continue to heal, grow, discover, and grow from wounded to wonderful. Yours truly, Coach Angie. Bye.